Your cash is at risk. Your savings are at risk. In today's video, I'm going to tell you why. It's important that we follow along with this on a global scale because that's given us the telltale signs. Other countries that are far ahead in the cashless society and how that links directly with the central bank digital currency. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. My name is David Quintiri, and what I do is look at all of these different topics surrounding the financial system to make it as easy as possible for you. I'll explain it very simply. Look, the central bank digital currencies, it might seem like it's nothing. It might seem like just another addition to the monetary system, but I have to explain to you why that is absolutely not the case. We're going to look at what's factual and what is more of a theory, and I'm going to explain it all. I want to begin with what's going on in Sweden because Sweden is far along in what's happening with the cashless society, but something has been sparked in Sweden. Then I want to look at what's going on with the central bank digital currencies, especially in Europe, but of course this is now unfolding everywhere and everybody wants to know, well, what can I do about it? I'll show you that as well. Let's begin. First thing, let's talk about it. Riksbank calls for urgent law to safeguard cash as usage falls. So in Sweden, it was already kind of seen as a cash society. Basically, most people aren't using cash. And there's some important distinctions because I know a lot of people will basically say, I'm not going to play ball. I'm just going to use cash. It isn't for the individuals to necessarily decide because if all of your neighbors are not using cash and they're doing digital, they're tapping their phones or tapping their plastic, then it basically means that the businesses won't have a need for these things. They won't want to accept cash. And it will be the businesses that will determine what happens. And you're going to say, okay, I have cash here. And they'll say, I'm sorry, I can't take that cash. And you say, okay, I'll go somewhere else. But they're in the same situation. One by one, the stores will not accept it because they don't want to worry about the risk to them. They've got to go out at nighttime at the end of every night in the cities that are becoming more dangerous with a big bunch of cash in an envelope, deposit that into the bank. It's a hassle. Otherwise, if it was all on plastic, you could basically go through at the end of the night and tally that all up. It would be easier for them. That's why businesses do like that. I can understand. The safety is another factor as well. So this is it. This is what's happening. And inside Sweden, I think it's important that we just touch on a couple of points as they say very clearly what's happening. Remember, they're further ahead than a lot of other places in this respect. But what they're saying is, no. Although a lot of people are using the cashless, we don't want to get rid of that. They're trying to push that through into law, but I believe it won't matter in the long run. The biggest Nordic country is a world leader in digital payments with the use of physical money dropping rapidly and many stores even refusing to handle such transactions. Remember, I told you this years ago that it would be the stores that drive that. And here we are. It's in black and white for you to read. The position of cash needs to be strengthened so that the customers can use cash for payments. Absolutely. You want that option, regardless, even if you don't use it, use your credit card, debit card, whatever, you still want that option. But it's going to go the way of the dodo bird. That's the way it seems. And you can see basically just talking about having the digital and financial exclusion. Some people do not use these things, right? Some people do everything in cash. And that's changing, of course, as the generations go on, but it's important. Only 8% of Swedes have used cash to pay for the latest purchase in a physical shop. That's down from 33% a decade earlier. So virtually nobody. Yes, it's happening. Yes, there is cash out there, but 8%. That's it, 8%. The developments has led policymakers to ponder the need for safeguarding the use of cash as well as introducing a digital central bank currency. That's right, already underway. This is simply delaying the inevitable. I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. Of course, you want to have people being able to use cash, should they decide. Why? Because cash allows us to transact from one person to another without the knowledge of a third party. It's not as if it's your Venmo and PayPal, where if $600 moves from one account to another, well, then everybody knows about it. That, not my idea of, any sort of sense. Have you heard about this? I believe it's actually happening in 2024. They're going through with it, that a small bit of $600. I mean, hey, I would love $600, but the point is, it's not that much money these days. So, you have one transaction of $600, all of a sudden red flags are going off everywhere. Is that really for money laundering? Is that for criminal activity? $600? Of course not. They want to know all transactions. They want to know everything. And they'll get that, especially when the CBDC lands in your hometown. Here we have Sweden ditching cash. Just wait for the fallout. Switching to digital money risks shutting out some of the most vulnerable members of society. And interestingly, what they say here is Bjorn, 1/4 of the Swedish pop group ABBA, became a standard bearer for a world without cash after his son got burgled. And basically just saying that, making it cashless is going to help with crime. That's what they're saying. Okay, people are not going to be able to take anything because there's nothing to take. Okay, I get that. Certainly. Plastic, tapping phones, digital, it has advantages. It's faster. You don't have to worry about losing it. You don't have to dig through the bottom of your couch to find the coins. Remember that. There are advantages. I'm not going to deny that. But we want the option. We want that option. Look, if I am, in the case, I send $100,000 overseas, I'm not going to put 100 grand in an envelope and send it off all the way around the world to my supplier to purchase goods. They could take that cash deposited in their bank. We want to do a digital transaction. No question. But for instance, if we're doing some, a sale of some sort and we live in the same area and I want to deal with you, I can just give you money and you can give me whatever it is you have. It's a transaction between two people. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't let anybody ever say there's anything wrong with that. And there should not be the need for the knowledge of a third party. There's nothing in there that should be worrisome to anybody. But to some people in government, some people just out there, they say, no, what do you have to hide? And so that's when we get into this touchy subject. What do you have to hide? Privacy, right? Why do you need that? Because if we could implement these rules, we'll make it safer for everybody. I would ask you the question, why do you lock your door? Why do you lock your door? Why don't you live in a glass house? Anybody? Well, because there are some bad people out there. There are people that are going to take advantage of that circumstance. Maybe that's not you. You want to leave your door unlocked. Hey, I live in a safe place, nice neighbors, what do I have to worry about? You lock it because you know there are bad people out there. There are people with prying eyes. You don't want to give that up to those people, right? Even though you've got nothing to hide. Why don't you just walk around with nothing on in a glass house? Because there are people that are watching. This is important. It's the same thing with these transactions. It applies exactly here. Look, you've got the digital euro. This is something that they've been pushing for. You've seen it. You've seen the videos. They're going for it, just like the Fed is going to do it and all the other central banks are going to do it. In the case of Brazil, Brazil opens up their, they basically open sourced their CBDC. And it says right in there, we could decide who gets it, who doesn't, what the money's spent on. You could turn it on, you could turn it off, just like that. They're not hiding it. This is Canada. Unmet payment needs and a central bank digital currency. They're doing it. This is the Bank of Canada's website. Okay, they're talking about why they need a central bank digital currency. It's going on. It's happening. We need to, help everybody. And the central bank digital currency is going to be so wonderful. This is the World Economic Forum. As digital currencies become more popular, could we be seeing the end of cash? World Economic Forum, thank you very much. Yes, that's where it's heading. And what about the Fed now? There were many people in this financial niche which were talking about Fed now being a CBDC. And I hate to use the Fed's own website to tell you that they were wrong, but it certainly got a lot of clicks. It got a lot of clicks for them. My goodness, good for them. Let's be honest about it. The Fed now is absolutely not a CBDC. But what it is and what it does is allows faster transactions. The system that we had, let's just say even before Fed now, even today, it's still terrible. If I send money overseas, okay, right now, for instance, I needed to send money. It was Friday night overseas. I didn't do that transaction on the Friday night, knowing that it would get held up for a few days until Monday, and then it would begin to process on the Monday and eventually get to the location on the Tuesday. And when we're talking about big money, you want the minimum amount of problems involved. And so I wait. And so I'll wait for that until it's the Monday, do the transaction, or the Sunday night so that it goes through in the Monday morning. That shouldn't happen. It should be instantaneous. The transaction had happened immediately, right? But it doesn't. So it takes too long. The system is old. It needs to be updated. Fed now might work, but the whole system is not applicable to that. This is like banks, in between banks and things. But anyway, the point is, we got to separate fact from fiction, okay? And so Fed now, it's not good. It's the Fed. I don't like the Fed, obviously. But it's not a central bank digital currency. It's not. They told you it was. They said, I read the titles. I read them all. I was searching. I was looking. Why are these guys saying this? Why are they saying it's a CBDC? Title after title, thumbnail after thumbnail, CBDC coming on, whatever it was, July. Anyway, if you want to know about CBDCs, if you are interested in everything, I'll put a link in the description. Here it is. This video breaks it down. Now, you might be asking, what can I do? Is it hopeless? Is it? Well, I think in the end, in a long enough time frame, they're going for it, regardless. CBDC, cashless society. That's what's happening. But there are a few things we got to do. Number one, use cash whenever possible. Just the use of it keeps it in circulation, keeps it moving from hand to hand. And so that's important, okay? More transactions need to take place with cash. We've got the fact that some people actually prefer crypto and stable coins for this purpose. They're saying, I want to be able to do business between you and I without a third party, and cryptos and stable coins allow us to do that. That's what some people say. All right, now there's some instability in these things. Obviously, look at the whole thing with FTX and the blowout. Crypto's coming down during that time. It's intense to have a lot of your money in that. Diversify your savings in different parts of the world. And when you don't have much saving or you don't have much cash anyway, it's not important. But when you do have more, having it in different places is definitely something that you got to be aware of. And just part of that, if you have an online business, if you sell Amazon in Canada and you sell on Amazon US and Amazon Australia, you could have banks in each of those three countries and leave the money there until you need it or whatever you want to move it around. But just having those businesses operating in those countries, you're online, you're in one spot, wherever it is, but the income's coming in and sitting in those banks in those different currencies. Like I said, if you need to convert the currencies, you need to bring them home to where you are. That's different, but you could be diversifying that way. That's something that we talk about pretty regularly on the Sunday live session. So, right here, consider moving to a place that is slow to implement. There are some countries that are going to be like, yeah, I know, central bank digital. Okay, well, it's going to take us a while here. They're just not friendly with that stuff. They might do it, but you might get 10 years out of that. And so that might be a stopgap solution. That might be temporary for you. Anyway, I think that's really all we can do at this point. There are other things, and please feel free to share those in the comments. I do appreciate your comments, of course, all the time. We'll talk about that, the comment of the day. If you want to get that time in between myself, we do live Zoom classes. These classes here, we're a small group of people that wants to know on the Friday session about the economy, about the stock market. And then the Sunday session is all about building a business online, and not necessarily just online, but I've got the tips and strategies, and these are the type of things that cost people an arm and a leg, and I offer it for a ridiculously low price. It's accessible to everybody. So anyway, if you want to know about that, link in the description right near the top there. If you're interested, comment of the day right here. Earl says small businesses are being crushed means that the free market rules and thinking are obsolete. We essentially have a Soviet economy and a privatized ownership. Price controls and limited ownership are coming soon. And that's, it could very well occur, not in one country necessarily or another, but, we have a crisis, we have an emergency. Here we go. We saw that kind of with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. We saw that with other things. The businesses do get nationalized, but it could happen on a more widespread nature. So let's see what happens. And that could be facilitated much easier with a central bank digital currency, of course. I hope you appreciate this information. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. I want you to check out that CBDC video as well. That's the one you got to share with everybody so they know what it is. Okay, good stuff. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.